everyone, and welcome back to For St. Pete's Sake. My name is Christian Hotchkiss. I am your host and the president of Stonewall Practice County, and I am joined as always by my amazing co-host and vice president, Laura Gerken. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Christian. It's so great to see you. I know it's only been a few days since we haven't seen each other because it's been
Listen,
busy, but
it's been
I,
a
I love
busy few
seeing your
days.
face.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad we're here today. It's going to be a very intimate episode. It's just the two of us. So, to our guests, we had a lovely guest lined up, but unfortunately, things happen. In the political world, we do have to be flexible
Yep, but
in
we're
these
gonna get them
situations.
back. We're gonna try to get them back on the pod for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're going to make sure that we get them lined up one way or the other because our guest was incredible. And we'll have more information later on.
Little teaser, so you got to come back and check us out.
Exactly, exactly. You got to pay attention because when we announce this guest, oh, I think people are going to be excited. So,
Absolutely.
anyway, enough with the cryptic side of things. How are you doing? It's been a wild week. We've had a few
Events.
events happen,
Yeah, I
and it's been a
know.
lot of
So
fun.
this is, I think, our second episode of Pride. So last week, we were speaking with Marielana Kinter, and that was our first Pride episode. And then that just kicked off, a long weekend of things, which I technically aren't even done for me yet because my niece is coming in town this weekend. She's arriving tonight, and she just texted me that her flight got delayed, so she's not getting in until after midnight now, and I have to
Oh
work in the
no.
morning, so that'll be fun. It's
Oh
fine.
no. Pride
Who
Month.
needs
It's
sleep?
you never know what you're going to get out of Pride Month.
Yeah,
Listen.
yeah. So yeah, we kicked off Pride Month here in Pinellas County with our first major Pride event, which was Saturday, Gulfport Pride, one of my favorite ways to kick off Pride,
Oh,
personally.
Oh yeah, and it's always held on the first Saturday of June, which is amazing. We had a great time there. It was incredible. It was hot. It was very,
Yeah.
very hot, and a long day, but it was incredible. We got to meet so many people. I think we got like 70 or 80 different people
Yeah.
to, sign up just for our mailing list, and
Yeah.
so, it's really exciting to engage with the crowd and things like that. What were a lot of things that you were hearing from the people that stopped by?
People were just being so supportive. One thing that entices people to come to our little table when you see us out at these Pride events is the fact that not only do we have giveaway stuff, like everybody has giveaway stuff, but we have the coolest giveaway stuff, which is that we have Pride flags, but like for different communities. So we have the inclusive progressive flag, and then we have the traditional Pride flag as well, and then we'll also have like gay men's pride, lesbian pride, bi pride, pan pride. I'm trying to remember them all. Um,
Non-binary.
non-binary, ace, trans, and gender fluid. That's the other one. I was like, I
Yes.
know we're missing one more. Yeah. And so we have all those flags. And so I just personally love seeing people come up and like seeing the flag for like that represents them. And they just get, and people's eyes just get all big and excited because, we all see the rainbow flag everywhere, which is great. We all love our rainbow flag. But when you have like your little micro community flag, it's very exciting. So it's just great. People come up and talk to us about that and share their experiences. And, right now, here in the year of our Lord, June 2025, people are really scared. And there was a lot of feeling that, but a lot of resolve that we're not letting it get worse. We're going to fight it. We're going to, be inclusive with our fight too. So that's what I heard, which I think, leads into something that we were going to, talk about today,
Yeah.
which we can get to that later because we have
Yeah.
another event that we also
Yeah,
had
so
this
we're going to get
weekend.
into our shut out or shut down here in just a bit, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Normally, we keep those short and sweet, but I think tonight we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on each of ours. But yeah, you're right. We did have another event on Sunday, which was our Pride and Progress Dinner fundraiser. And I got to say, I am so proud of how this event turned out. I am so incredibly grateful to every single person who bought a ticket, who attended and showed up and enjoyed the show. And we had a drag show and we had our program with a bunch of speakers. And we had a lot of fun in the sense of we had different fundraising and our silent auction, which was incredible. We had a bunch of art donated by a couple of local artists, Bob Holmes being one of them. So I want to give him a shout out. I also want to shout out Cocktail St. Pete and the Wet Spot because they donated a 2-night stay at the hotel and a free cabana stay, and that was an incredible donation, and we're very thankful for that.
And I know our
Um,
winner was very excited about receiving that. So
yeah,
I know
yeah.
she's looking forward to her weekend at the Margine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be an incredible weekend for them. So I expect an invite. No, I'm kidding. No, it was great. It was everybody had a lot of fun. Like I said, we opened up with a drag show with Natasha Raines de la Mer, Veronica Fox, Alice Marie Grip, and Fondy and Carrington.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. Seems
It
like
was
everybody
so
loved it.
fun. I think I've seen all of those the ladies perform before. So, but they're always so fun, and Alice and Veronica were just flip-flopping all over, and that is so impressive. And then Natasha and Fondi had more of a like diva moment. Natasha did Defying Gravity, which like of course we all loved, and she did the whole green and everything, which was fantastic. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely the highlight of the night. One
Oh
of
yeah.
my good friends.
Fondy giving Whitney
Oh
was
yes, Fondy doing
amazing.
Whitney brought it down as well. And I know my friend Carrie, DJ Carrie Dangerous was our DJ, and she just absolutely had a blast as well. Said that it was, one of her more fun Sunday nights. So that was exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was incredible. The crowd seemed to love it. And then we went into our program series where we had Tamara Lee from the NAACP. She's the new chair of the St. Pete LGBTQ committee. Um, and we had Keandra Darling there. We had virtually Rep. Anna Escamani and Carlos Guillermo Smith, senator from the state of Florida. Both of them were able to join us virtually and give us, a major pep talk, and it was incredible to hear. All of our speakers were absolutely incredible, and I think that Tamara gave the most powerful and moving speech for sure,
Absolutely.
and reminded us of the really deep and important conversations that we need to have during this month
Hmm.
about our trans brothers and sisters being taken off the streets and losing their lives, and she had a list of 17 names that I have, and it's been absolutely uh, eye-opening to read the stories and actually hear, do the research on them because there's 17 people who in the state of Florida alone have been murdered since 2021. And one of them, yeah, her name
Trans
is slipping
women.
off. Yeah, trans women, trans men who have been, murdered in the state of Florida. One of them right here in our own backyard in Clearwater, just a
Yeah.
few miles from where we are. So it was really, really powerful to hear her speech. Really, really moving. So I'm really grateful that she was there. And then, of course, Keandra Darling was amazing. She is a darling. I love her. She's a local candidate here in St. Petersburg, running for State House in District 62. And then we had Anna Escamani, who is from Orlando. She's a state house rep, and she's also running for mayor of
Mayor of
Orlando.
Orlando. Yep.
And then Senator Carlos Guillermo Smith, who's the senator from Orlando as well, state senator. Both of them were just absolutely incredible, and their messages were powerful and moving. And just a reminder of, we've done a lot of hard work and we have really good representation, but it's not done yet. We have a lot of work to continue to do. So I think that what did you think of all our speakers?
That's what I took about it from it as well is it was really a message of intersectionality at the end of the night. Like, we can't fight this fight like just focused on, it's like, and I think Tamara said this, it's like, a lot of people, in the community are like, okay, well, we got marriage equality, so we did it. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, there's a lot more to it than that. And when the least of us is suffering, we're all suffering. So it was really a good conversation on intersectionality and, that, we do have, people in our community that are trans and that are being hunted essentially just because they're trans. We have people in our community that are immigrants that are being hunted because they're immigrants. We have, you know what I mean? Like we have black people in our community that are regularly doubly discriminated against because they're black and they're gay, trans, or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was a really good conversation throughout everything on intersectionality and why it's important. Why it's important. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's a reminder of or something that I want to remind our audience at least that back when Nazi Germany was first getting started, they came after trans folk first. They came after the first doctor who was performing gender affirming surgeries in Germany. And I don't want to give out wrong information, so I'm not even going to try to say their name, but it's something that our audience should look up and should do their research on because when they started with when they started in Germany, when Nazi Germany was starting, they started with trans folk. They started with immigrants. And then it went into this whole. We know how it turned out,
Yeah,
obviously.
the
So
authoritarian playbook is very, very, repetitive, and it's the
yep,
go for the most marginalized, the most separated communities first, and that's why we need to, hold each other and build bubbles around each other and keep each other tight and not push each other away.
absolutely, and it's a reminder or something that I want to remind our trans brothers and sisters that Stonewall Democrats will never abandon you.
Never.
Um, we will not. You are a part of our community. You are our brothers and sisters. You are our family, and we will make sure that there is always a spot at the table for our trans and non-binary people, for the members of our community, because you deserve it. You are valid. You are important. You are worthy, and we see you and we hear
Absolutely.
you, and you will always be a part of us. So that is something that I want our community to recognize and remember.
Exactly. And it is disappointing that, even within the LGBTQ community that we do have to make that declaration because there is sometimes that part of the activism of the community does leave out the trans community. And, Marsha P. Johnson that threw that first brick at Stonewall was a trans black woman, and she launched the modern gay liberation movement. So like if it weren't for a black trans woman, I don't know where we would be. And
Absolutely. It was trans women.
she was surrounded by Latinx and other minority trans people as well.
Trans women of color and lesbians were really the catalyst of the gay movement being started, the gay liberation movement being started. And sometimes we forget that. A lot of times we
Mhm.
forget that, especially our community. So we are committed to making sure that our history is never replaced or
Exactly.
forgotten. So absolutely.
Exactly. And and yeah, they can change the name of a boat away from Harvey Milk, but that's not gonna no that's we're not erasing Harvey Milk. He was,
Exactly.
he was a very important man. He was very important to this country. He was very important to the Navy.
Mhm.
And you can be petty and change a name, but you're never gonna forget. We're never gonna forget him.
Exactly. You can't change our history. You can't
Exactly.
change our community. And again, just to reiterate the commitment is our trans and non-binary folks will never be replaced. Every member of our community, gay, lesbian, bi, trans, non-binary, ace, all of them. Everyone is important. Everyone is vital to our community's success and to the advancement of equal rights and equity in this country. So I don't want anyone to feel like their place in our community is ever doubted or questioned by us. It's not.
Exactly.
We need you. You always have a spot at the table. So
And you said ace, and that made me remember that's a flag that I forgot that we did leave out because I was like, I'm pretty sure we have 10, and I only counted 9. But yes, we have the ace flag too. So yes.
yes. Yeah. And again, just as important to our community, and they're not
Absolutely.
you're not going to be erased, you're not going to be changed, and again, we see you, we hear you, and we love
100%.
you.
All right. So, since we're going to have another deeper conversation on our shout out and shutdowns, let's hop right into it. Why don't you start, Christian? Why don't you tell me what your shout out or your shutdown is this week?
Okay. So I've got a major shutdown, and this is going to be a conversation to be had because I have a lot of things to say. I want to shut down the militarization against, or the mobilization of our military against our citizens in LA,
Hmm.
in these protests that we're seeing in LA. Um, because God, there's so many things to say, and I don't know where to
Yeah.
start. First of all, if you don't know, there are protests in LA against ICE raids that are happening across the city. And those protests started from the ICE terrorist organization, is what it seems like, going into
Masked,
these masked,
unnamed.
unnamed, no documentation, no IDs, no anything like that. Just going into these private communities, private businesses, and en masse taking out people forcefully. They are disappearing people, and we've seen it across the country, and we've heard it so many times. Where the young lady who was a student at NYU, I believe, who was taken into ICE
Yes.
custody. Yes, and she was taken into ICE custody and moved to Texas for however long. I don't know if she's been released yet.
She was just recently released, like within the last week.
And she was there for several months, and
Hmm.
she is a legal citizen. She was born here. She had every right to be here. She is a legal US citizen, and
Well,
she
and
was
even
still
if she was a
detained.
student, even if she was only on a student visa, she has the right to free speech, which is all she
Exactly.
did was co-author an op-ed saying, hey, we should not be giving money to Israel while they perpetuate the war in Gaza. Like that was her whole crime, quote unquote.
Exactly. Exactly. And it went against Trump's message, and so he had her,
Abducted.
his authorities had her abducted in a sense, and again detained for several months in an
Yeah, because
ICE
I'm pretty
detention
sure it was like
facility in
February when
Texas.
she was taken.
Yes, and so we're seeing it occur. We've seen it for several months now, and it's hitting a point where I think people are getting tired of it, and that's why we're seeing the protests in LA. And there was no violence until the militarization or the weaponization of our military happened by our commander in chief, and I don't even want to call him that because he's a dictator in chief, realistically. These are all my opinions. I want to make that clear, but he's acting like a dictator in these
Mhm.
situations, and him mobilizing the military against our own citizens is something that only happens in dictatorship, only happens when,
In
we're seeing.
authoritarian failed states.
Exactly, exactly. And it's fascism at its core. It is fascism using our military, go circumventing the wishes of the governor of California. And I heard an interview from the police chief of LA, or the city police chief, and he was saying that they have different steps that they have to go through. The first one being obviously mobilizing all the city police, then going to the county, then going to the surrounding counties, then going up to the states. And then from there, they would go and see about activating
National
the
Guard.
National Guard. And they weren't even at the point where they were reaching out to other counties, surrounding
Yeah.
counties for help. So they were nowhere near the requests of, mobilizing the National Guard and getting them down there. And then from there, he furthered the attacks by mobilizing the Navy or the
Marines.
Marines, forgive me, our 700 Marines over to LA just to further the intimidation and try to shut down our freedom of speech. One thing that I noticed and I want to point out is that it's really hard I hate even thinking about this. There were members of our media from
Hmm.
so many different media networks, including Fox News, who were shot at
Oh yeah.
for simply recording the military and the National Guard, and for simply doing interviews. There was a woman who was not even involved in any of the protests. She was simply walking back to her apartment, but because the National Guard had blocked off her street and she was just trying to get home and she was trying to explain it to them that she was just simply trying to go home, she was still shot at by a rubber bullet. She was attacked like just trying to get home. And
Yeah.
that's the problem that we're seeing, is that when members of the media are shot at for simply recording what's happening and giving the information. We are so close to Russia at this point. It frustrates me so bad.
It is very scary. It's like, yeah, the thing that were there things thrown? Was there a Waymo set on, were there a couple Waymos set on fire? Those things did happen. We're not going to deny that. But that doesn't mean the entire situation was violent. It was 90% peaceful, 10% chaos. Saturday was LA Pride. They
Hmm.
didn't cancel it. They didn't cancel
Hmm.
it. There were still protests going on in LA, but where LA Pride was happening, it was totally fine. You had LAPD assigned to LA Pride,
Hmm.
protecting it. If LA was like being overrun by rioters, would that have happened? No. It's just there there's people have information silos, and I understand that media is very broken right now, and there is no such thing as local media anymore, which is how people traditionally get their news, and like through the local lens, and we just don't have that anymore because it's all been bought out because it's not profitable to make local news.
Hmm.
um so people are siloed in what they get, and the majority of people, like older people, go to cable news, whether that be Fox News or MSNBC or CNN. They have their sides they pick. But people like, millennials and younger, were usually getting it from social media.
Hmm.
And so if your algorithm is alarmist, you know what I mean, has any of that in there, then yeah, you probably genuinely thought that Rome was burnt, that LA was burning, but
Yeah.
it's simply not true.
No, not at all. There was no violence until the militarization or the military showed up and they started antagonizing the crowds. And that's what happens in these situations is the escalation, the
Hmm.
unnecessary escalation of force against these crowds it was awful. And again, I want to reiterate that the President of the United States circumvented and the right's all about states' rights. So
Exactly.
the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, circumvented the wishes of the Governor of California
And the
and
mayor of LA.
and the Mayor of LA by mobilizing the National Guard. And also, I want to point out we're talking about California a lot. I want to remind people that Texas has just the same amount of undocumented immigrants as California. And the only reason this isn't happening in Texas is because Texas is not a state that is not a blue state. It's not a state that primarily went against Donald Trump. We're seeing a lot of this in California because it's political retribution. That's the only thing it can be described as.
Absolutely.
Is, again, we're not seeing this in any other state other than California. When there are just the same amount of numbers.
Well, and if you've listened to this podcast since we've started it, you'll know there's no love lost here from this host, Laura, on Gavin Newsom. I think
Right.
his slide to the right has been annoying, and and part of that moving that Overton window for Democrats as a whole to become more moderate, conservative, right leaning. So I don't love him, but I've seen so many funny TikToks on it. It's like he's a demon, but he's our demon. It's like,
Right.
it's like your annoying cousins. Like you can talk all the smack you want about them, but like someone else, I'll come and be like, That's my
Right.
family. What are you
Right.
talking about?"
Right. We don't like him, but
He's standing on business.
he is standing on business, and I loved what he said when Donald Trump threatened to arrest him, and Pete Hegseth said it, and he was like, "Come and get me, just come and arrest me, but keep your hands off of 4-year-old little girls who are just trying to get an education," and that
Exactly.
is so powerful. That's the truth. That's what ICE went in and did. They took a 4-year-old little girl from a school who was just trying to get an education,
Hmm.
and
And
it's
they're going to
so
Home
sick.
Depot, Home Depot parking lots, rounding up day laborers. Like I
They are
thought we were
sitting
going after rapists and all the murderers, and you're coming after, guys that are just doing everything they can to get $1 and live.
They're chasing down people in strawberry fields in
Hmm.
California, in Bakersfield. They are literally chasing them down and tackling them in fields of strawberries in California. They're also sitting at federal courthouses where people are going in for their immigration
Hearings.
hearings and things like that. Thank you. You're giving me all the words I need. For their immigration hearings, they're sitting there and they're waiting until after those hearings are completed, and they're taking people to the bowels of these buildings,
Yep,
to the most underground that you can get, and they are just disappearing them. They are just taking them and never to be heard from again. These
right,
are families, these are parents, these are children, these are aunts, uncles, friends, these are workers. They
exactly.
contribute I want to
So
reiterate
much.
against this narrative of like undocumented immigrants do nothing for this country, and that's simply not true. They pay taxes. They help move our economy in so many different ways by doing the unskilled labor that our people will not do, by paying in taxes and not getting any of the benefits from those taxes. They
Exactly.
don't reap any of the benefits,
No
but they
Social
still pay.
Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no
But they
SNAP.
still pay in. They
Mm-hmm.
still pay in.
Yep.
And so everybody's like, everybody on the right wants to say, oh, well, he was supposed to just go after the illegals and the criminals and things like that. And then there was another statistic that was pointed out that like 60% of Americans think that just being here undocumented makes you a criminal. And I want to remind people that it's not a crime to be undocumented.
It's not, it's a civil infraction.
It's a
It's not a
civil
criminal.
infraction. It's not a crime. And even if it is a civil infraction, I don't care. No human being is illegal. Now,
Mhm.
there's a conversation that you can have about securing the border and making sure that we're protecting who's coming in and going out of our country, and making sure that, the fentanyl discussion and everything like that. I'm not here to discuss any of that. What I am simply saying is that no human being is illegal. No human being should ever be treated the way that these people are being treated. The again, the kidnapping of these people and then being sent to other countries to
Right.
study, to
Exactly. And that's the other part of it. Like, not only is the practice facially racist, like obviously racist and, discriminatory against undocumented people, it's outside of the bounds of the law, which again, you freaks are supposed to be so obsessed with law and order, but except for when it comes to brown people. Like
yep.
I literally can't. Like and it's like you're grabbing these people up off the street, out of school, out of work, from court hearings, and not giving them an opportunity to have a lawyer, not having them an opportunity to do anything. You're just picking them up and pulling them out of somewhere. And it's that is not how this works. This is if you any random person who, okay, say you forgot to renew your driver's license. That's literally the same infraction as being here in an undocumented manner. And so you forgot to renew your driver's license, you get pulled over and you get disappeared. You get put in a holding cell with 60 other people with no limited access to outside, limited access to food and water, no access to legal representation.
Hmm.
And
And
that's fine.
it's sick because people don't realize that when ICE is being told that they have to increase their deportations to
3,000 arrests a
3,000
day.
per day. That doesn't mean that they're taking 3,000 people per day out of this country. They're
Nope.
not moving 3,000 people per day back across the border. What they're doing is arresting these people and putting them in cells, in detention centers. Again, 60, 70, 100 people sometimes in these cells, and just piled on top of each other with no representation, no clean clothes.
Privately owned detention centers as well.
Privately owned, private
So
for-profit detention
people are
centers.
making money on this.
Yeah, somewhere, so, and track the money, because that's,
Exactly.
find out where that's going. But it's not 3,000 people being taken across the border every day. It's 3,000 people being detained and being tortured.
And
This is
torn away from their
torture.
families.
This is at its very basic levels. This is human torture.
Yeah.
And there's no other word for it. When you put these people in these cells and you don't give them clothes, you don't give them proper bathroom facilities, you don't give them regular food. You're holding them there, and they don't get the representation that they need. It's torture at its very basic levels, and we need to be honest about it. We need to be
Yeah.
honest and have an honest conversation when we're discussing this. So anyway, that's my soapbox for this evening.
But you know what? I loved it, and it ties in well to my what is going to be shout out, which
Okay.
is we just had, a pretty good conversation about what's wrong and how hard and how mad we are. So what do we do about it? Well,
Hmm.
this weekend is Saturday, well, maybe the 14th. June 14th is the protest where is being known as Known King's Day, because also on June 14th happens to be the little man's birthday, and he's holding this ridiculous and again like all the bad signs military parade in DC. And so we're calling it no it's being called No King's Day because we do not like I don't know if y'all remember, we started this country to get away from kings. Like nobody has absolute power
Hmm.
here. So there are protests all over the country, all over your state. Anywhere you want to go, you can find a protest. There is going to be one here in St. Pete that I know I'm going to. It's going to be at Tyrone Square Mall, or like the Tyrone area. It's not at the mall, but it's like the Tyrone area. You can go online to sign up and to get the more details about where it's going to be and what time and everything. Love to see you out there. I'm going to be out there with some signs, probably my megaphone again because we know I love that. And I'll be going live on TikTok or Instagram again, just like I did for the 5051 protests as well. So that's my shout out is to the people that are organizing this. And these are not, Christian and I are, we're part of the Democratic Party. We're connected to our caucus and to the party. The party's not planning this. These
Right.
are, individual people and individual groups that are getting together and saying, this is wrong. We can't do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's important that our people are doing it, that these organizations are getting together and planning these events because it's important to make our voices heard and to remember that no matter what, no matter how many National Guardsmen, no matter how many Marines they send in, they will not stop us from speaking out and speaking against what's happening. Um,
Exactly.
eh, and I've gotten on this the deep dive of the internet because I heard some people talking about the original Constitution,
Oh my
and
gosh.
so I really went back and I did a lot of research on the Constitution and the Articles of Confederation that actually founded our lovely our lovely country,
Articles of
and
Independence. The Articles of Confederation were different.
no, it was the Articles of Confederation that was
Oh, our
started.
original, not the Confederation, like the Confederation,
Right,
Confederation.
right.
Oh,
It
okay.
was the Articles of Confederation is the original document outlining how
Um,
our government was going to operate and what it was going to look like. And uh, because there was this thing about I saw a TikTok somewhere where some guy was in a debate and he said he didn't want the original Constitution changed. And it was a Trump supporter, and the other guy who was debating him was like, "So you don't like your right to own a gun?"
you're
And
right
the
to bear
the
arms.
the Trump supporter was like, "Oh no, I love that right. I love that right. That's part of the original Constitution." And it's not.
It's
It's
an
an amendment.
amendment.
It's an amendment. And then so in this TikTok, all you hear at the end of that after he says that is just the clicking of the keyboard. I can only assume that he was Googling what an amendment is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
back to my original point is it's important to get out there and have our free speech and our right to protest and exercise
Exactly.
that. But it's also very, very important to stay safe. And I want to
Yeah.
remind people to bring water,
Oh yeah,
uh,
because it's
bring
it's hot.
it's hot. It's hot. Bring umbrellas. Because you want to stay out of the sun. You want to take breaks. Bring chairs and find somewhere to sit to the side. Make sure that you're not overheating yourself. Bring all your signs and bring all your megaphones and everything like that, and make your voices heard. But make sure you're staying safe. Make sure that anybody who's there to antagonize against you, you're not
Ignore them.
interfering with. Ignore them because they don't matter. It's water off a duck's back, as one famous drag race winner said. Jinx Monsoon. It's you guys, you're there for a reason, and make your voices heard. And I fully support that. Just make sure that we're all staying safe and we're
Absolutely.
protecting ourselves and each other.
Yeah, and at least for the St. Pete protests, I've been to protests at the same group. It's Pinellas Now, I believe, is one of the hosts. They're fantastic. They have
Yes.
safety monitors, they always have legal observers come. Like they are top tier on planning these things. So I know I personally feel very safe. There's a lot of as we were talking about before we started recording, my niece is coming down from Ohio to visit me this weekend. And, if anybody that knows me, she's my little baby girl. Like, she's basically one of my favorite people on earth. I would never put her in a position to be unsafe, and we're going together. So,
Yeah.
there's no reason to worry about safety. There's always reason to worry about it, but there's no reason to be overly concerned, just as long
Yeah.
as you're smart. And, if people are coming to antagonize you, that means what you're saying is working. So just don't
Yep.
respond, just ignore them and keep your message going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, just on the basic level of safety, again, bring water, bring
Yeah.
chairs, bring umbrellas, stay out of the sun as much as you can because it's hot. It's not only hot here in Florida, it's hot across the country. So,
Yeah, it is.
make sure that you're protecting your health. Make sure that individually you're watching over your own bodies and you're making sure that you are not hurting yourselves. That's just as important as not,
Right.
interfering or antagonizing other people. It's just as important to watch out for yourself and take care of yourself in these situations. So that's my
Absolutely.
reminder to anybody who goes out this weekend is, oh, they're fighting.
Hang on, pause. Sorry.
I love it.
There we go.
So again, I just want to remind people, stay safe this weekend, make your voices heard and everything like that.
Absolutely.
I think with that, I think that's the end of our show tonight.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's the end of
so.
this week's episode. So, Laura, thank you. Again, I know that we were supposed to have a fantastic guest, and we will have that fantastic guest one day.
We will.
So I want people to, join us next week because we will have another guest speaker who is absolutely incredible in Keon Darling. So please, come back and watch our next episode, watch our previous episodes.
Absolutely. Please remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We're at For St. Pete's Sake. That's at For Saint Pete's Sake. You can subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. If you want to throw us a rate and review on either the podcast apps or the Instagram or the YouTube, that would be lovely. Either way, we hope you're back with us next week. Come back with us next week where we'll have more stories from the people doing the hard work to make our community better. Until next time, for St. Pete's sake, keep pushing for change.